What's going on YouTube? This is Steelton TCG here, and I just wanted to talk to you about Branded Despia. It's the deck that I've been playing for this format, and I wanted to show you guys what I've found in playing the deck and how I have it built. It's kind of more like it's pretty common with what you've been seeing, especially at the YCS that happened in Las Vegas, the 3v3 one. But there's some choices I wanted to explain and like a little bit of a minor innovation with the deck since then. Nothing too crazy because the format's actually been pretty like there's been a lot of different decks that you can see. So anyways, so I have the deck in different parts. So I'm going to start with the monsters, and the first 5 I'm going to show you is the Despia engine, 3 Aluber, 1 Tragedy, 1 Ad-lib. Very simple package. You don't want to play more than 1 of this card because it's a brick in your hand, especially if like you don't have ways to play with it. You need a second card to use this, of course, and you're not playing Edge and Chain package. So it's not really good in your hand. You don't want to see it. And obviously your 3 Aluber and your Ad-lib in them just for the branded and red, standard branded and red plays. Yeah, so next is the Albaz package. And so it's going to be 2 Fallen of Albaz. I played 2 Blazing Cartesia right now because it's really nice to see with branded opening. It lets you play around cards like Imperm and Ash on your Aluber, because if you just summon Aluber, they kind of have to Imperm or Ash it if you don't have this card. Because if they don't, then you could already be holding Branded Fusion, and now you just get Branded lost, and you can't use your Imperm. Sorry, I didn't mean Ash, I meant Valor. You have to use your Imperm or Valor on this, because if you don't, then they get Branded loss and they just play around Imperm Valor. So, and then Cartesia just lets you beat Imperm or Valor on Aluber. So it's kind of a no-brainer. Yeah. So the 2 Cartesia. And then the one-ofs, Albion, Springen's Kit, and Merc. Hand trap for interruption on the opponent's turn, a search off loss to play around Nib. Kit obviously is for follow up. It's also another branded fusion in your deck, and this deck is playing 12 branded fusions. So you've seen the 3 Alubers, the Kit, so that's 4, and Albion. I like Albion a lot because if you go into the standard Tragedy line with Ad Libitum and Branded in red, then you don't have a Fallen of Albaz in the grave. And the reason why you want Fallen of Albaz in the grave is for this card, Rhinebrum. Because then during the opponent's turn, you can just summon Fallen of Albaz and interrupt them by making a fusion with your Albaz. So dumping the Albion off of the Grand Guignol, I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right, is really good because obviously it lets you dump the Albaz, and then it sets you up extra interruption on your opponent's turn. And it's nice because you have like layered interruptions, because you set up your Mirror Jade, you're setting up Branded in red, and now you have a graveyard interruption on top of that. So you have multiple different ways to engage with the opponent's board and how they're trying to play into you. So that's it for like the Albaz package. Pretty much all branded lost targets, you could say. Just keep those here. I don't know if you can see it, but and then the 1 Lubellion, and then the 1 Saronir. I actually don't really like these cards that much, but Lubellion is nice, obviously to make Albion with, to get you to branded lost. The only issue with that is that line kind of plays into Nib pretty hard, and some decks are remaining Nib and whatnot. But if you're going for this line, you're setting up Expulsion which is also nice because Expulsion kind of plays around evenly. So does Branded in red, obviously, but Expulsion just makes it so they can't use evenly because you just summon the monster to their field. But yeah, like I said, and you play the one Sarner because it's like a target for Lubellion. Sarner doesn't ever feel that super great to draw. You're not doing the Mercurier combos with Reinbrum to summon Reinbrum. Usually you're just searching this off of Lost to play, like I said, to play around Nib. So yeah, that's all I can say about these. They've been alright. So now the branded spells and traps and the rest of the engine. So obviously 3 branded fusion, 3 branded opening, and now that's your 10 branded fusions now, because you've seen the 3 Albaz, the kit, and then these 6 cards. And like I was talking about playing into Nib, there's combo lines you can do, like where if you already see Albaz and branded fusion, well, you can do a line where Albaz gets you to opening, and then you can start with going branded fusion with Lubellion and Albion, and the opening gets you to Adlib, and then when you go into Lubellion, you can just discard the ad libitum off of the Lubellion, and you still have your ad libitum line with your branded in red. And then obviously the branded in red, the card I was just talking about, and branded lost. This card's broken. It's one of the, like, it feels like if I resolve this, especially with the branded fusion, obviously if you resolve branded fusion, you win. Like, that's the thing about this deck, is it doesn't really have hard counters, but it loses to cards. It doesn't lose to a deck, it loses to cards. I find it's pretty versatile, other than the fact that it just loses to Ash and it loses to Deep Barrier. So yeah, and then the traps, 1 Expulsion and 1 Retribution. I talked about Expulsion already. You can do plays where you leave Cartesia in the grave, and you can summon like your Cartesia and your Albaz or whatever, and then you have another interruption because you can use this to make like a Dragostapelia with the Albaz and the Gran if you have that on board, and then you have the Gran in graveyard, so you don't have to. You can make like Aquarius or whatever, right? And yeah, this is a follow-up, but I actually find myself sending this sometimes when I have access to like a branded red that I've opened or been able to just search off of a Albaz because I saw my other combo pieces. And it's pretty funny because it's hard to like beat this card, especially when you go, like you dumped off Albion, like you dumped the Albion with the Mirror Jade, and then you dump another name off the Gran. So you just return your graveyard extra deck cards for this. So yeah, it's not too bad. It like stops like Cash Theosis. It stops Nib on your follow-up. It's not really that relevant, but it does. Yeah, it stops a lot of other cards, like, so it's nice. And that's it for the branded spells. I guess I'll just leave them here. And then the last couple cards are more consistency cards. 3 fusion deployment. This is kind of like another going second card too, because you're summoning Albaz off of it if you're playing into a board, or if you're going first, you're summoning Cartesia off it to obviously play around like Imperm and Veiler. It also helps you play if you get ashed. So if you had already a Cartesia, well, you can summon Albaz, use the Cartesia, and you can actually get to Mirror Jade with it. So you can still kind of play the game, and you can get follow-up to search your branded fusion and stuff. So fusion deployment is pretty much a necessary card at this moment. And it's also necessary for like post side shenanigans that you've seen maybe in summoning a Neospatian Aqua Dolphin. I could show you my current side if you guys want to see that, just to get a look at it. And then the last two cards are Foolish Burial and Gold Sark. These are other branded fusions, because you can Foolish the Tragedy to search for a Luber, and you can Gold Sark the Mercurier to search for Spriggan's Kit. So it makes sense for me to play Spriggan's Kit if I'm running Gold Sark. That's the thing. So that's why you kind of have to run Spriggan's Kit if you're running Gold Sark. And the next 11 cards are just going second cards or just other staple cards. I play Upstart, so it's a 39 card deck. Called by to beat Ash, because you lose to Ash, so you have to play these two cards. And then 9 going second cards. I play 3 Kaiju, because the Kaiju beats the when they just summon a Rise Heart, and it also beats the 5 zone lock. And this, like, I've been liking this card. I was trying a couple, like 2 Allures in the build, and it was fine as well. But I ended up just cutting the Allures for the Upstart and the Gold Sark. But just to have more brand fusions, but it was still fine. Like, but you could try Allure. Yeah, this card's just really good. It's just another out to like 5 zone lock along with 3 nib. There's like 3 cash decks at my locals, so you kind of have to play these cards. And then if they don't 5 zone lock you, then you're only making a Rise Heart, and 1 branded fusion just deals with a Rise Heart because you just make Ryan Brum, and there's a lot of, it's like not too bad to out. So then the last 3 cards in the main are 2 Ash and 1 Imperm. And I can explain this is because I play Crossout in the side deck, and post side, then I just have another, like, if I don't see Cartesia or Fusion deployment, I don't lose to like Imperm on a Luber if I have Crossout. So that's pretty much that, and it's just a going second card that's okay still in the main. I don't really need the Imperm because there's like a lot of ways to get to Cartesia. There's 5 Cartesia in the deck post side, because you have the 3 Fusion deployment and you hard draw this, and if you draw this with obviously branded opening, then you're fine. But still, it's just another option. And then the extra deck. There's a lot of different choices you can make in the extra deck. That's part of the reason why I like this deck too, but here's the more standard ones you'll see. You have to play 2 Albion. I think you have to play 2 Libellion, because if you play 1, it kind of sucks with them hitting it off of Diablosis, but it's also like really good in grind games to have 2, because it lets you like recycle your other fusions and whatnot. 2 Mirror Jade, you have to play 2. And then these are some one-ofs that I find are standard: Rhinebrum, Brigand, and Sprend. This is an odd choice for some people. Really, it's like, if I decide not to play around Nib with the Lost, then I can just send Brigand in the end phase to search for Mercurier. Rhinebrum, you're not really summoning this that often. Mostly it's just you're dumping it off Mirror Jade to use the Albaz as the interruption during the opponent's turn when you're getting to the Albion engrave to dump the Albaz. So that's 9, and the Grand and the Despian target. Right now I'm playing Proskenion. You can try Aquarius, they're both fine. I've just been trying Proskenion and I liked it. I stole a Chang Ying with this and it like won the game. And then some other one-ofs, Masquerade. This could be a side deck card for time, but right now it's in the main. Dragostapelia, just a second branded and red target mostly. If you can't, if you don't need to go into Chimera, obviously Chimera, because this card's like a blowout in a lot of decks when you resolve it off branded red. And then the last card is a Starving Venom. Now this is interesting because when you're playing against a Cashier deck and they're making Diablosis and they see Starving Venom, they have to banish this, or else you just Super Poly their board away if they make a Rise Heart. And if you resolve Super Poly and then Brand Fusion, the game's over. So this, like, they see this card and they pretty much have to banish it. And the thing is even if you're not playing Super Poly, they kind of have to banish it for fear of Super Poly if they're doing that combo. Yeah, but even if they don't, and I'm not playing Super Poly right now, this still outs like Towers monsters. You can just make it off Branded in red with your own field. And that's kind of the nice thing about it. It just becomes a big beater to beat over like Towers monsters, obviously. There's some other options you can play. So here's like, you can play Garura, you can play Dragoon. And if I was to play Dragoon, I would just cut the upstart for a Dark Magician. Dragoon's really good for board breaking because you play the Dark Magician so you can get the pop with the Dragoon, and you're setting up an Omni Negate, of course. So it's kind of nice. And the Garura, you're just dumping it off of Grand to draw a card. It's okay. Yeah. So that's the main, and this is like a current side that I've been using. So this is part of the reason why Fusion Deployment beats Ash, as you summon this by revealing this. And you just pay 500, or you discard their hand, or you discard a card, look at their hand, and you just get to see if they have Ash or not. And if they have Ash, you just get to get rid of it. 1D barrier, because it is a crossout target for 3 crossout for going second, because you lose pretty hard to D-barrier. Obviously, you could just put it in going first too and hope to draw the one of. Going second, I have some Evenlies here. Dark Holes are good. So those are some going second cards. You could play Enemy Controller because it lets you dodge stuff like Imperm Veiler on your Luber when you're going into boards. It's alright. And then 1 Feather Duster for the trap decks. Raw Disciple because I don't have the Gimmick Puppet, but you would just play the Gimmick Puppet. And the last card is a Jinzo for trap decks. And you can just dump this and summon this off Expulsion. Or you can get lucky and hard draw it and sack like your summon off of Deployment or your summon off Branded Opening. And yeah, that's the deck. I could do like, I won't do a test hand, but if you have any questions about combo lines or any questions about more questions about why I would run certain cards or why I don't run certain cards, you can leave the questions down below in the comments. And yeah, hope you guys liked the video. Don't forget to like it and subscribe. See you guys later.